Hello and welcome to Multidimensional Wavelength. In today's video, I would like to talk about Clair abilities, what they are, how to recognize them, and really how most people have them and they just don't know it or don't know how to tune more into letting those abilities really come out and strengthening them. So when I talk about Clair abilities, the one that I know is going to pop into a lot of people's minds is clairvoyance. I feel like there's a huge misconception about clairvoyance. And the reason I say that is because people who watch a lot of TV and they see mostly like murder shows or crime scene shows, they see somebody who's clairvoyant who all of a sudden they get this horrific image popping into their head to find out who the killer is or something related to the case. And in reality, that's really just not the case for somebody who has clear sight, which is what clairvoyance means. So it's really the ability for somebody to visualize and to see an image that just kind of pops into their mind, whether they're thinking about somebody or something, and that image just pops into their mind, and it doesn't really matter distance-wise, wherever they are in the world. It just pops into their mind where they can see something that is meant to show a certain perception, to communicate a certain message. It can also be like a vision as far as into the future, or similarly with like a dream state kind of vision. So this is probably, even though it's the most recognized one, it's probably one of the more rare abilities for somebody to actually have. And if you are one of these people who does happen to have this ability, then you probably definitely realized it at an earlier age, and it most likely, unfortunately, was tough based on how society is today and how a lot of people kind of shrug it off, or there's so many things that kids get diagnosed with these days, where a lot of it there's a misunderstanding of it, because you can diagnose somebody with anything. And for somebody to be like, oh, I see something, chances are, if their parents aren't accepting, then they're going to think they're crazy. And it's unfortunate. And that's why one of the things about the Clair abilities, and I know other people probably do this in the world, but something to talk about and to be able to recognize that, hey, kids like that aren't crazy, that you're not the only one who can see other stuff or something that pops in or messages that come across. But this is, like I said, one of the more rare abilities. So yeah, another type of Clair is Clairaudience, and that is the ability to hear. So, and this is definitely more common than clairvoyance. So whether you know it or not, like if you've ever been somewhere and I don't know, maybe you're walking down an alley or something, and you got this little voice in your head that's telling you, don't go this way or turn around, or you have this little voice, and you might think that it's your own. It might come across as your own voice, and this is where it kind of gets tricky to explain, is that the clairaudience is either music or a voice or some kind of communication that you hear where you can tell that it's not your own, that it comes across as something pretty much random, but that you can apply to either the situation that you're currently in or something else going on in your life, you'll be able to apply it and realize, hey, these are my guides coming through, trying to convey this message. This is how I interpret it. These are my next steps of action. So that's, clairaudience is really, again, getting a message across, but through hearing. And again, kind of like the clairvoyance, if somebody at an earlier age says, hey, I'm hearing voices, or, there's something that they can't really explain, because in our society we don't teach, especially kids or adults too, to understand what they're going through, of why they're hearing voices or why they're seeing visions. But this one can sometimes be diagnosed as schizophrenia or some kind of mental illness where, that association that we get with society of hearing voices in your head, there's a huge misconception that hopefully this video sheds some light on. But a lot of us, and even if you haven't recognized it before, hopefully this video will help you recognize it, where you'll be able to, I've been in this situation where, wow, there was a thought that popped into my head, and it didn't seem like me, but it was, it'll kind of click, where you'll be like, I probably am clairaudience. Let me try to work on it to strengthen that and to listen more carefully. The next one that I want to talk about is Clairsentience, which, if you are considered an empath, you'll definitely most likely have this ability. So before I get into Clairsentience, let me talk about what an empath is. An empath is a person who, we have several layers to our aura, and our most outer layer, which is our boundary layer, is something like a mesh screen that helps to separate everything of our being in our aura, to set it apart from the rest of the world. Now, when, just like a screen to a window, if there's a gap in it or a cut, missing part, whatever it is, things are going to be able to come in and out and through. So same thing with somebody who's an empath. From outside factors, you're going to have all these other emotions and stuff that come if they're in proximity to somebody, or just somebody who's in their family who they're really close with, that could be physically a good distance away. They might be like, wow, I feel like this person must be sad right now for some reason. Or if they're sitting next to somebody, like a total stranger on a train or a bus, they could pick up, wow, this person's really anxious for some reason. It's because the other person's energy is really seeping through that boundary layer of your aura and affecting you physically, emotionally, and mentally. So going back to clairsentience, it's the ability to read somebody else's energy and sense their emotion and kind of feel it for yourself. So if you're sitting next to somebody who you know is sad, or that you can just feel is sad, you will not only have that sympathy of, wow, I recognize this person is sad, that's unfortunate, but you'll feel that empathy of, wow, I have no clue why, but physically I feel like I want to cry, or I feel sad, I feel blue, I have no need to smile, all of a sudden I have this rush of sadness. And it probably won't be, people who have this will, you'll be able to recognize it. And for people who are empaths, and this is why, and I go back talking about the misdiagnoses of the world, but somebody who's an empath, chances are they're not going to want, if they don't know how to control that leak in their aura, or that gap, to kind of close off their boundary, to keep their feelings to themselves and only to allow things in and out on their own, or under their own power, I should say. Those kinds of people who don't know how to control that are going to be less likely to want to go out into crowded settings or out into more public spaces, because there's going to be that overwhelming feelings of emotions, anxiety, anxiousness, stress, that it's just going to become too much where they're not going to know how to handle it. So really learning how to ground yourself and create a barrier to get those kinds of things under control would help one's person to really feel if it's their emotions or if it's somebody else's emotions that's affecting them. So that's pretty much Clairsentience. Let's go to Claircognizance. So Claircognizance is the ability of knowing, or having a clear knowing. People like this just have a knowing of certain things going on around them, whether it's somebody lying to them or a random thing that pops into their head of, hey, I should do this, or we should do something this way. They somehow come up with solutions in this sense where they just know how to get something done, and they may not know how they know, but there's just that innate knowing. The next one I want to talk about is Clairtangency. So for those of you who know what it is to like hold something that's tangible, this has to do with touch. So it has to do with touching a person or an object. And just like Clairsentience, it has to do with being able to pick up or off the energy from either a person or an object, and knowing this, this energy feels light or heavy. There's a certain emotion associated with it. You kind of feel a sense of good or bad based on touch. That's pretty much what it is in a nutshell. The next one I want to talk about is Clairgustance. This has to do with the ability to taste something without it actually being there. It's a pretty common gift, whether people know it or not. It's just becoming more aware of it. I can speak to this one personally. I've had plenty of experiences of where randomly you get a taste in your mouth that you can't explain, but it will usually have some sort of connotation or memory associated with a certain taste. To still, like I said, all these gifts kind of try to convey a message to you from spirit or from your guides, whatever you'd like to call it. It could be your higher self, source. You can use kind of words like that interchangeably. But yeah, you'll get a really strong sense of taste in your mouth for the craziest, weirdest flavors and things that you can imagine. But yeah. The last one I want to talk about today is Clairalience, which is also one that I am aware of for myself, which is the gift of being able to clearly smell certain things that you can't explain, as far as something in your physical surrounding of why you would smell that smell. Yeah, because it's not a physical. What you're smelling isn't actually in the physical realm, in your 3D reality, where your third dimensional human body is. But there's still a reason for whatever you smell, because, like I said again, with the Clairgustance as well, is like there's something associated with it, whether it's a memory or something else, that it'll cause a trigger in you to know, hey, this is kind of what I need to be thinking about right now, or this is why this is being brought to my attention. In any case, these all have to do with conveying messages to you to help your highest good. And it's really when you become more cognizant of different situations where these abilities pop up, recognizing them and just becoming more aware of them, so that as they pop up, if you give them more attention, the more they'll start to continue to pop up, and you'll continue to develop them. Very similar to muscle growth for somebody who's working out. The more you work on something, the better it's going to be able to grow, and the better you're going to get at it. And a lot of people don't use these gifts, but they can definitely help to steer you on the right path if you know how to listen properly and know how to recognize and kind of I don't want to say control, but be able to use them with caution, at least for some of them. Some other ones, like the Clairalience and Gustance, just kind of happen naturally. But the more that you try to not engage with them, I would like to say that it's kind of like a slap in the face to your spirit guides and whoever is trying to bring something to your attention. So please do not disregard anything that comes across. Please give it some thought. Please work on your abilities, because they can definitely help to get you out of some tricky situations, put you and keep you on the right path towards your life's purpose, and just overall make your life and the world around you just a better place. So I think it's going to do it for this video, but hopefully you learned something as far as the Clair abilities. Hopefully you'll be able to recognize within yourself if you have any of these abilities, and if you do, please work on them. Yeah, like I said, think about the misconceptions. Please don't dismiss, especially for kids, please don't dismiss any kids that come forward and tell you, I hear something or I see something. Kind of validate it a little bit, or at least, if you don't feel like validating it, at least give it some thought as to, hey, I have a new perspective. This kid might be, this kid might have an ability. Let me not dismiss it. Let me not sweep it under the rug. Why not help to nurture and strengthen it to help their higher self out? So, just food for thought. But if you like this video, or found it helpful, or if you learned anything new, please like and subscribe. If you feel like you have a friend that may have mentioned something about a Clair ability that they probably didn't know was a Clair ability, but now you do, please feel free to share it with that friend. And as always, I want to thank you guys for your time. I hope that you have a blessed day filled with love and light.